Hi everyone, Yacht Ed, Tiffany Wolf here, Warm Embers, and I'm here with the amazing, gorgeous Marika. She's gonna talk to us. She has a book coming out. She's an entrepreneur. She does modeling on her Instagram. Go check her out. Go ahead and do an introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Doja, hello everybody. My name is Marique Moss. I am proudly Afro Indigenous. I am Black on my father's side, and I am an enrolled member of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation on my mother's side. I am situated here in Minneapolis. It's raining right now, which is why is it 30 degrees in June, but that's fine. Um,
It is. I'm like, what? It's so
yeah, it sucks.
cold.
And I am a co-founder and co-owner of Mashkiki Studios, which is an educational and a creative studio here in Minneapolis.
That is a lot. Like running full-time business, entrepreneurship. I love it. So,
Thank you.
what is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, that I can wake up at like 10 a.m. First and foremost,
Uh-huh.
I can create my own schedule. I have full autonomy to do what I want to do, work with who I want to work with. Um, yeah, if I want, I think it's more mainly about like waking up and going, let's do a workshop in, South Dakota, or let's contract with Washington, I don't know, let's say Suquamish tribe, right? And
Yes.
you just go and do it. It's like not a pipe dream. It's not anything. You just make it happen. And I love doing that. And then some days I'm like, why am I in Colorado? This is ridiculous.
Oh my God,
But
the dream. Okay, so I mean, it sounds simple, right? Living your dream, but it's
yeah.
not like the steps that you had to take, get the network in place, making the contacts, reaching out to people, getting the contracts, like all of the behind the scene things to build it is like a lot, but at the same time, I feel like it's like one foot in front of the other. And then pretty soon
Yeah.
you look back and you've had this whole network built. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how you approach your approach to this?
Oh my gosh, it was a lot to get to at least this point where Mashkiki Studios is right now.
Oh,
But I have a partner here, and he is Ojibwe Leech Lake and White Earth. So
okay.
he's already extremely rooted in community here. So he's kind of like my cheat sheet. And
Yeah.
so obviously, if you say one person, it's going to be word of mouth to the next person and the next person, and you just build a reputation of, oh my gosh, they're doing, this, and that sounds really awesome, let's check it out, and then it sort of belts out to the community at large. So with Mashkiki Studios, we both have a background in American Indian education, and we sort of pulled from our lived experiences of that.
Yes.
And we also have experience in the nonprofit sector as well.
Mhm.
And we were like, what if we did this like by ourselves? So he had his own company called Mashkiki Studios, and I had my own, and it was called the Dreaded Hidatsa, which is a play on my identity. So it was when I had my hair in like these faux dreadlocks, and I was like, I want to sell my wellness products.
Yeah.
But all my wellness products are like traditional plant-based medicines, tinctures, everything that I learned from, yeah, so like fire cider, bear grease salves, all of that fun stuff. And I was like, it is medicine. It is Mashkiki. So then I took over his, so we blended our companies together. And us being educators, we wanted to teach the community that wouldn't otherwise have access to, I guess, these stories, knowledge, medicines, you name it. So he can talk a lot on Ojibwe language and culture, jelly. And
Babe.
yeah, he's just phenomenal with it. I'll say like one word and he can like just rattle off forever on it, and he'll tell you origin stories and pipe ceremony and all these beautiful things. I'm just crying and sobbing in the corner going, that is so beautiful. How'd you do that? Um, and then on my part, I usually go my education route. So anything he says, I go, and that is a product of, ICWA, and that's a product of relocation.
Yes.
So I bring in that aspect, and I also do professional development
Okay.
and DEI, even though it's scary now, we're
Yeah,
still doing it because
we have to.
why
Yeah.
wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a lot packed into one. So school districts can go, hey, we would love to make smudge candles to help ground our students for, Suicide Awareness Month, right? So we'll go into that, or we'll have teachers say, we have a new Minnesota state statute for teaching, and we have to try to put astronomy and native studies together. So we'll go in and we'll talk about star knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And we'll tell the teachers how to incorporate certain curriculum so that they can teach it. Because if you don't know it, but you have these phenomenal laws in place, how do you teach the teachers, right?
Yeah.
So,
That is
so
so important. The work that you're doing right now is just like laying the foundation for more incorporation of Native knowledge in American culture. The reason I started the
yeah,
podcast was I want to see us in American culture take our place, and the work that
yeah,
we're doing is integral to that because it is getting Americans involved, educating them, and creating a place of safety because I know a lot of
yeah,
want to come into our space because we get super like a little bit hostile, but like quick story, working in environmental, we would go to these meetings with EPA staff and everybody would be like, like
yeah.
the natives, which is it's true because they have a patriarchal relationship with the tribes and we're trying to educate them like, no, we are both governments. But this
Mm-hmm.
there's that hostility which is it is okay because that's how we feel, but at the same time it's like okay, coming into this new era we have to educate the Americans like this is who we are, this is who we've always been, and
Mm-hmm.
we want our place in American culture and we want to share ourselves with the world, with the to take that stage. So like when Native American Heritage Month comes around, we're like having brands in Target that are native, we are
Yeah,
having big commercials, because we're not really seeing that now. But I know
exactly.
that the work you're doing is just laying that network, so it's really
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely trying. And I liked what you said about safety. So when we go into our Mashkiki mode,
uh-huh,
we make sure that it's inclusive of everyone in the community at large, which often is non-native people.
uh-huh,
And we do that specifically, for native and non-native people. So for instance, I'll use myself as an example. If there's a workshop on, I don't know, birch bark journal making, right?
yeah,
I don't know the community members. I'm going in blind, and I am not sure how the community feels necessarily about me being Afro Indigenous or being outside of being Ojibwe and Dakota and coming in sort of scared and shaken, but I really want to take this workshop. Um, so sometimes it deters people away because maybe they only want family members, relatives, people that they only want this for Dakota members, or it's a little bit closed off for Mashkiki. We sort of have a little policy, invisible policy we have on our door, and Theo does like a really amazing blessing, and he says, we don't gossip here, we're not doing any bullying stuff, we're all here to learn, These are our teachings. He burns his sweetgrass. He talks about being a kindness medicine. He's like, there's no place for lateral violence here or violence in any,
Yes.
shape or form. So we'll have non-natives come in and they're typically educators too. And they want to learn. And we're like, this is incredible because K through 12, you have to do Dakota and Minnesota studies. And Ojibwe culture is a part of that. So if Theo is making, winnowing ricing sticks, that's a phenomenal thing for those teachers to learn or to even know the background history of that. And we just think that is so beautiful that we could be inclusive to everyone, but we also believe that there's policies and protocols, right? So um, for making, rattles, we'll close that off to Native community only, right? Or we're not going to just story tell all throughout the year. He's like, you know what, there's no snow on the ground. This isn't the right time. And that's sort of just tailored for our community or, different like a cedar ceremony, dark room. He'll rattle off about that because nobody needs to know our business but us,
Yes.
But yeah, we're really inclusive over here and we try to make sure that everybody feels like they belong. At the beginning, we say, there's no stupid questions at all. Being in Indian education, we've heard it all at this point. So we've had teachers, email me, how do you say Merry Christmas in Indian? And we're like, well, let's back up a couple steps. 574 federally recognized tribes that each have distinct language. They're bunched in different linguistic groups.
Uh-huh.
So it's sort of the Indian 101, right? But we're
Yes.
like, if they don't know it, how do they know how to pass it on to their social studies colleagues or their math colleagues or so on and so forth?
So working with the educators sounds really amazing. Especially when they want to come in and ask questions like that. I think
Yeah.
such important work. So I wanted to talk about your background, Afro Indigenous. So I want to start with in the Navajo culture not too long ago. So the word that we have is Jini
Yes, yes, yes.
is from the color black is Tlajin.
Yeah.
And so when I was a kid growing up, I thought that was the American word, Jini people.
Yeah.
I thought that until I went into briefly I went to a Farmington school district and then I didn't realize that was not American. It was actually Navajo word. But when I look back in my personal reflection of people who were mixed with African American, we never made the distinction. We always just
Yeah.
like they're Navajo. Like, like we didn't like this
Yeah.
or like they were just part of our tribe, our community, like we didn't say anything. But then more recently, oh, Radmilla Cody, I believe,
Yes.
to create a new term because she felt like bullied by the old term, which was her experience, which is unfortunate. And I don't know where it's at right now because that dialogue kind of died down and I haven't really been home enough to see like what word are they using because I
Yeah.
believe that ceremony, culture, our language is going to evolve, like it has always evolved. Like we have our traditions, but stuff on the fringe kind of like evolves to meet where we're at, in our
Yeah.
time period. So, and then when I was in high school, we a few of my friends were also their father was African American, but I never saw them from that lens. I always thought like, oh, they're natives.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to have that perspective, but I just wanted to take this moment to have you share like your experience because I think it's beautiful
Yeah.
cultures.
Yeah. So I sort of want to domino off of your story really quick. So I always was taught, just based off of my Dene friends saying like the word, God, I never, how do you say it again?
Oh, like the Ginny for the people?
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh-huh.
They're like there's sort of like a taboo-ish sort of thing around that. Um, and I remember going to the Shiprock, shout out to the Shiprock flea market where I
Yeah.
would have my mutton fix every Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I remember going there with my Navajo friends and they heard that word and their necks cracked to the right so fast. And they're like, they shouldn't be saying that to you or so and so. And I was just like, oh, all right. Well, thanks for letting me know. And then I heard it often and often, but it's sort of the you don't know that it impacts the person until, you learn things like that. And Miss Cody sort of revamped and revised that. So I think that one is taking off. And it's going, she's got beautiful shirts with the new word on there, and she goes, this is how it should be addressed. And I don't know, it's really beautiful. I love it so much. Um, but to the topic of silly old me, um, so oh my gosh, I'm like, ew, why am I talking about myself? So I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yes. And I'm one of four kiddos.
Okay.
I'm the third out of four. So I'm the middle odd child out, obviously, always. And we sort of went bam, bam, bam. We're like, ooh, you guys were. So it was like 89, 92, 93, 95, like adventurous.
Yes.
So,
I'll take care
um,
of each other.
literally. So my first couple of years of my life were spent in Rio Rancho
Okay.
with the cute road runners and tumbleweeds,
Uh-huh.
where we were learning Spanish when we didn't know that we were learning Spanish.
Uh-huh.
Love it. After that, we moved to Texas, and me popping around and moving around is my mom's fault. She keeps one-upping herself,
Uh-huh.
and we had to move. So I think altogether I've lived across 9 different states. So New Mexico, Texas, Minneapolis, which is now my home base,
Oh, yeah.
Washington, D.C., Connecticut, New York, Colorado, Washington State. So I'm very familiar with the tribes coast to coast now.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to hate it so much with all of my heart, moving so much, but when someone's just like, yeah, the weather in Maine is good. And I was like, oh, is it, crabbing or clam season yet? Or, and they're like, you, how do you know? I thought you were from Minneapolis. And I was just like, sorry, I've accidentally lived everywhere. So,
But that is
um,
important, I think. It builds who you are and your ability. That's part of the ground foundation for you to
yes,
have.
I fully, fully agree. Um, so my father is originally from Detroit, Michigan. Shout out. Um, he is a 6'9" chocolate man from Detroit. He used to be the center for Gonzaga University playing ball.
Uh-huh.
So he's really into March Madness. So we're really into March Madness.
I love
But
that.
that was back when the shorts were Daisy Dukes and you could wear Chucks onto the court. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, relax, Willie. Um, my mom she was born in Fargo, but she is a member of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. We are Hidatsa, and we can't say Mandan because we're not necessarily, they started from the 1934 census, so so we're Hidatsa. We also have equal lineage in the Dakota Nation up in Saskatchewan. So shout out.
Yeah.
Um, my mom was adopted by a very German father and
Okay.
a very Scottish mother.
Wow.
Also, yeah, Germans love Native Americans.
Yes, I saw YouTube videos.
Yes.
Powwows.
Yes. And she was actually born 20 years prior to ICWA being implemented. So she's always like, I grew up against federal policy. And I'm like, yes, Margaret, thank you. But her story is incredible, incredible. And I love her so much. And similar to when you were telling me that you just see them as Navajo, your mixed race friends, Afro Indigenous, I'm like, that was not my experience. So when I talk to other Afro Indigenous peoples that are Dene, Lakota, Osage, I'm like, that's incredible because that wasn't my experience. But your experience is yours, right? It's
Yeah,
very unique. Your experience is your Native or your Black experience, which I love comparing notes with other people.
too. Yeah, that's why
Um,
this podcast. I'm like, tell me.
yes, for sure. Um, so growing up, I had representation of both sides. Both sides. I have this beautiful 6 foot Hidatsa mother. Hidatsas are big as hell. Can I say hell? I'm so sorry. Um, Hidatsas are tall.
Uh-huh.
And my dad is tall, so I'm tall. So I'm the shortest in my family. I'm 5'11".
Oh
Yeah, the tallest is 6'11", and that one is my baby brother.
my gosh. Oh my God. People are probably like, "Whoop," when they
I
walk.
know, we just make a wall.
I know. That's so cool.
So both sides of my family are super tall, and I have my beautiful Black dad, my beautiful Hidatsa mom, and we're just living life, right? And I have siblings that look exactly like me.
Uh-huh.
But my oh my,
Oh,
was it a journey growing up.
oh.
Um, so I always tell people the way I was raised, my family or my parents were the first ones to break generational curses because we grew up being I don't want to say like willfully ignorant because things were hurled at us.
Uh-huh.
But we didn't know why. And we're just like, we're just here to get a Barbie. Why are you yelling and being weird at me, right?
Yes.
So my dad is a master's trained social worker therapist, and he is geared toward Black male excellence. And he gets it at that adolescent level so that you're successful all throughout your life, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
And oh my gosh, my mom's the whole thing. Um, she is the first and only Native American to hold a PhD in nursing and a JD.
Okay.
She was just inducted into the National Academy of Science and Medicine, which is the highest level that you can get into for, health and all that other fun stuff. She was inducted with what am I trying to say? Two Nobel Peace Prize people. Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, Margaret. Um,
I feel like that should have been on the Times magazine and I
so she was in Forbes 50 over 50 doing her policy work. Her policy is geared towards American Indian aging, American Indian elders and aging in health, but then she accidentally like staffed the special Senate Committee on Aging when we were in DC. Um, sh- her, you should have Homegirl on here. She's a whole thing on herself.
Yes,
Um,
definitely. I would extend the invitation.
yes. Yeah, she's that's what I mean by like she keeps one-upping herself. We're
Yes.
like, come on, man, we just got situated here. But she's taught me a lot. Everything I know is from her. She's incredible. She's she's the same. We have the same exact humor because she's blasted everywhere. And then she like texts me like Megan the Stallion memes, and I'm like, where did you even get this? And she goes, TMZ. And I'm like, you're not a real person.
Oh
Stop it. You're so fake.
gosh, so I love that you guys have such a healthy loving relationship. Like you said, breaking curses. Because it
Yeah,
really is. Like what you
absolutely.
is totally like wholesome, healthy.
Yeah, yes.
So
Same with my dad. Absolutely same with my dad as well. My parents are my best friends and I'm on FaceTime always with my mom. They're gonna hit their 42nd wedding anniversary, I think, in like 5 days.
oh wow.
So yeah, they're really in it to win it.
That is like so impressive. I hope you guys are doing something fun.
I'll probably give them like a cupcake and like dip or something. um, but yeah, my parents really paved the way for us four. And it was sort of a there's nothing you can't do, right? And we have the resources for you to do and excel wherever you want.
Oh,
And so I guess I can start at we went to like really fancy Catholic schools, private schools, which was incredible because we know how to write
yeah.
phenomenally, right? But that's also where we learned who we were, unbeknownst to us.
Yes, like they were trying to put you in a box, huh?
Exactly, exactly. And I sort of write about this in my memoir, but like first day of school, we go in and we have our cute little uniforms on.
Oh,
Our hair is in braids and we're just so excited and we're sort of looked at like we're at a zoo almost.
okay.
And we're like, I know we're new, but like the novelty should have worn off by now. I just want to get into PE.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how
Um,
and how old are you at this point?
I started there in fifth grade. So my sister is sixth, fifth, sixth, and then fourth for my little brother.
Yeah.
And of course, you have everybody swarming up. We were the only kids of color, by the way,
No way.
in that
Oh
school.
my God. That that right there, the pressure, right? Like because
Yes,
you're starting to be aware of like
exactly.
society and like what people think, and that's the beginning. So
Yeah.
must have been.
For sure. Yeah. We started out in public school, like creative arts classes. Um, and it was, well, I'm a very artsy person, but the curriculum wasn't necessarily there. So my parents were like, okay, we're gonna one up this.
Yeah.
But again, there's and pros and cons to all of those because in the artsy school, there were people that looked like me. And I'm just a kid going, oh, there's Jill and there's Max, and they don't care what I look like, and I don't care what they look like. We're just playing WWF with our little action figures, right? But at our Catholic schools, they knew exactly who we were at all times and in every single grade, all the teachers. And I was just like, ew, please don't know my name. I'm just here to do kickball and maybe math. We'll see. Um, but that same day we were on like the blacktop because Catholic school, your recess is just a blacktop.
Huh?
Um,
Just use your imagination.
literally that's exactly what it is.
Uh-huh.
And it was kids coming up to us going, "Are you guys on scholarships? Do you know how to rap? Is your dad Akon?" And we're like, "No."
Wow, that is, I swear, brutal kids.
Yeah, and so I remember going home and I was like, so Chris wanted to know if we were on a scholarship, and mom goes, no, Chris's mom wanted to know if you guys were on a scholarship.
Yes.
And it just went downhill from there really fast.
Uh,
We were just expected to be a stereotype of what they saw on TV or their YouTube stories
oh
or what have you.
yeah.
And me and my siblings felt pressure to be those stereotypes because I'm black and I know I'm black, but you don't think that I'm black enough, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, Do I have to go get Nikes? Do I get Air Forces? Like, how can I help accommodate you with my blackness?
Oh my God. That is
Yes.
so like mind blowing. And the fact that from a native perspective, like because we're always overlooked, would never have had that experience. But just seeing how you're having that experience and having to be like, do I need to go in this cookie cutter mold?
Exactly.
This? Like, oh my gosh, what
Yeah.
gosh, that must have been pressure.
Oh my gosh, it was so much pressure. And here I am, like with my iPod listening to like Escape the Fate.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm in my emo era. I want to listen, to Fall Out Boy and I'm just, rocking out here, but you're making me feel like I have to, listen to Lil Jon and all these other things. And I was just like, well, I love Lovers and Friends. I
Uh-huh.
love Beyonce, but I just want to cry and listen to my emo music right now. And I was there, it would flip to one extreme to the next because I would always be, you're so white. You're so white. You're not even black. You're not a real black person.
Yes.
And so it was that banter. And there's always going to be that banter is, am I native enough? Am I black enough? Am I too black? Am I too native?
Uh-huh.
Or things like that. And you'll be pulled in all different directions. So growing up, I internalized that, yes, I am black. And my mom tells me now, which makes me sad, but I was never proud to say I'm native. I'm also native because what is also native, right?
Yes. And it's
um,
if people don't associate what is native, because
yeah,
at that time period, there wasn't social media to be as vocal as we have it today.
exactly, exactly. So when I would say, "Oh yeah, I'm also native," mom would be like, "Okay, thank you. It's only half of your whole identity, but that's fine." But I was just so scared and I didn't want to be second guessed. And I didn't want to have my mom in my back pocket to validate every time I said I was native, right?
Huh?
So I would just be like, yeah, I'm black. And they're like, well, obviously there's something else in there. And I would be like, yeah, I'm native too. And I remember my mom saying, you're native, you're an enrolled member, you're Hidatsa, you're from XYZ. And I was just like, okay, okay, okay. But even still, coming out with like my coily afro hair, I would just be like, well, I'm black presenting. So right now, that's all I feel comfortable telling people that I am.
Huh?
So um, that was a hurdle and a hump to get over. I don't think I really started saying, yeah, I'm Black and Native until I was in high school.
Okay.
And that was because my mom gave me my secret weapon, which was her earrings. And I'm an earring fanatic to this day.
We have
I rem
superpowers.
Yeah, I know. She would have these long, beautiful beaded earrings. I'm like, those are kind of cute. I was like, those are giving native. And I would steal them from her and I would wear them with my uniform and everything because you could only have like a fun pop of color with like no nail polish or anything. So I'd wear these earrings and they were a hit. And I've been addicted to long earrings ever since. And they're like, well, what do the bearded earrings mean? Like, what is that? And I'd be like, these old things, these are native earrings, and so on and so forth. And then people would say, well, what tribe are you? And of course, I'd say the three affiliated tribes, and they wouldn't know what that is, right? So maybe I was making it up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
Yes.
neat.
Some people don't know it to this day, so I have to sort of relate it to the Revenant. And I'm just like, I'm from the tribe that they consulted Aurikara on
Uh-huh.
when Leonardo DiCaprio was being attacked by a bear for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
I
And they're
didn't
like,
know
oh.
that.
Yes, and they're like,
Amazing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, let's watch The Revenant.
Yes. But yeah, that was sort of a internalizing my black side and then debuting my native side and slowly. And it wasn't actually until it wasn't actually until I went to get my undergrad that I was like, holy hell, I am native. Like this is great. Someone didn't tell me this. This is awesome.
Oh my God.
Um, I know my mom was like, I've been telling you your entire life. Um, and so when I started my school journey, I went to Fort Lewis College, shout out. Um, and I looked at all of the majors. I do not know math. I will cry over decimal points. Please don't put me anywhere near them. I wanted to follow my mom's steps of being like a nurse and doing biology, but again, math.
Yeah.
So I looked at the next best thing
Uh-huh.
and I was like, you can get a degree in Native American and Indigenous studies? That's silly. And I'm like, I'm Native. I'm gonna get an A. Because I was thinking like for the Spanish person that gets a Spanish degree, like it's just gonna fly by, right?
Uh-huh.
It was the hardest thing of my entire life, and it really and it challenged the hell out of me.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't take it back for anything. I loved every minute of it. It was the thing that I needed to solidify. Yes, Marika, you are Afro Indigenous. You
Uh-huh.
can proudly be Afro Indigenous and you can carry it on. You can, speak your truth. Don't be ashamed of it at all. And because of that, I'm now doing that for others, I believe. And it makes me really happy.
God, that was such a beautiful story that you took journey that tied
Yeah.
back around to what you do for a living or your joy. You know,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
amazing. One uh person had told a professor, and she had said, "Oh, it's important to get your education because they can never take that from you,
Exactly.
but they'll never take your knowledge." And I was like, "That's such a good point, where you
Yeah.
made the connections, got your education, and then again, that's another stepping stone of your foundation to create where you are today, And it's to me, I went to college, but then I didn't have the support to go finish my degree. But
Yeah.
now I'm like so many years in the field, like I've done presentations at conferences as well. And I feel like just the experience was fine, but the whole time I did research, I wrote papers. So it was kind of like getting my education on the job.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but it's interesting. Okay, so let's get into your book. Your your, your jewel in your crown. I want to know. Tell us about your book, your inspiration.
Yeah.
It's coming out soon. I can't wait.
Yes.
I
So,
know.
so I actually have a proof copy right here. Um, it's called Sweetgrass and Soul Food, another play on my identity. For sweetgrass being for my native side and soul food being for my black side. And I did not mean to make a book at all.
No?
Not even a little bit. I'm more of a policy article writer.
Okay.
So when I switched gears and made a more creative approach to the memoir, I was like, okay. But it started out with me going through ups and downs and my own lived experiences that could either be positive or negative. And I'm a very analog person. I have a journal in my purse at all times, and I'm just like,
Way.
hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'll usually like scribble notes down or say, add this to Google Doc or something like that. And I do that because maybe that instance is something else that somebody experienced or hasn't, and they can take from that. I rail on indigeneity all the time. I'm like, you're native, whether you have piercing blue eyes, blonde hair, and afro, all of the above. I was like, I've met language keepers who have piercing blue eyes. I've met, head dancers with beautiful afros with flowers in them. And I'm just like, you just don't know until you ask. And then everything rattles off. And I think that's sort of why I wanted to have it go out, because my experience, again, like I was saying, is my experience. And it might have a little bit of, you might see yourself a little bit in it or a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I sort of like just how we've been talking, I go through, it's like a coming of age story from birth to now, how I got into it. And it used to be little scribbles, chicken notes, and I would leave them around. And my partner was actually picking up my poems and he goes, you need to get these out here. And I was just like, no, it's embarrassing. And he goes, no, like this needs, people need to see this. And I was just like, okay, well, let me run up my mom. She's the warden. And she goes, Marika, you need to publish this somewhere. And I was like, you guys are ridiculous. Why are you even saying this to me right now? And I printed all of them out. There's 55 of them.
Okay.
And I was reading over them and I'm just like, oh my gosh, maybe, maybe I do. Maybe I do put this out there.
That's
And
impressive. 55 poems?
yeah,
Yes.
then that's narrowed down from like 73.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah.
I love that. Like it is scary because that's you. This is
Yes.
what you who you are, your being, and then to put them together and be like, okay, world, I that has
Yeah.
to be like
Oh my gosh. So when I first announced it, I threw my phone across the room and I was looking to my partner and I was just like, you have got to get me out of this damn house. I'm having an anxiety attack. I don't want people to know who I am. And he goes, no, 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 it's going to be okay. This is like so needed. And just to jog back, I did my cute little senior thesis for my undergrad, and it was called What is Black, White, and Red All Over? And it was me, right? We also had to do these personal narratives for like our senior capstone projects. And I sort of blended those together because I was like, oh my gosh, I've already written this. I'm just gonna, shift it into this narrative and make it less academic-y. But I sound exactly how I talk in those. You can read my voice. You can read all of the poems in my voice with my cadence, with my mannerisms, all of it. And I love it so much. I was using my friends as some beta readers. They're like, I can hear your laugh in these pages. And I was like, good. Um, but I am super excited for those to read it. I'm sorry. The entire point of that other story was that I had to research Afro Indigenous stories. And guess how many of those are out there?
5.
Well, thank you. That is so generous of you. Next to nothing.
Yes.
So I was like, maybe this is a resource or a tool people can use to reference
Yeah.
when they're doing their studies or, when they're looking into identity or anything. There has to be some type of a blueprint because when I did my study, there was nothing. So I had to pull and piece together different things like Métis, right? Um,
Yes.
or I had to put together and reference Friedman, and there were so many things that I had to patch together that I'm like, maybe I just write the damn thing, right?
Oh, yes.
So that is what my goal of the book is. And I am currently doing research into Afro Indigenous health disparities.
Um,
Um, and yeah, I just, there's got to be resources for someone to pick up somewhere at some time.
I
So,
love this. The fact that you're creating a pathway, right? Because like you
yeah.
it doesn't exist. I had just shared on another episode that I was because I love fashion and I love watching like Dior, all the big luxury houses, watching
Yes.
shows, you know? And then I was like, let me see what's on native fashion. And I think it's like 10 videos and that was it. And then it goes to
Yes.
AI. And I'm like, that's so weird. So, and in podcasting, there's like not that many. And then with like you said, being an author, there's not that many resources. And that's why I'm always like,
Yeah.
take up space, whatever you want to do, just do it. Get out there, get
Yes.
started, talk to people, network, because we need to be able to provide like you said to provide a framework people can reflect back at and
Exactly.
and say yes. And that's how I think we take our place in American culture to be like, oh no, there's these things here, the culture,
Yeah.
it's recorded, it's written down, it's on YouTube, but it's
Yeah.
and it's so important. And I think feel like we're at a pivotal moment where we have social media, we have YouTube, we like you're all the way in Minnesota and I'm in California and
Yes.
it's just like the technology's there, the science, like we can just be able to springboard off of that and just launch. And I love how your father is loves promoting um African American excellence. And I think
Yes.
yes, and I think that hearing you speak, like you're just promoting indigenous excellence, indigenous joy, and it's just like so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. There's actually a poem in my memoir called Intergalactic Seas, and it talks about sort of digitizing the revolution. And I love that so much because that's exactly what you just said. Like remember like the Roblox powwows and like online beating auctions and all of that. I'm just like, it's here and you can spread it. It's very easy. You can connect. You just have to, take those steps.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, what would be because you were well versed in travel when you were young, but some people never leave the res, and some people, and I was
Yeah.
talking with my kids about this because um due to my parents dysfunctions, I moved so many different schools and like was always moving around. And so it's like being put into these places, it really kind of like toughens you up and you're able to go and do things that I feel like people who have a lot of trauma are like Play-Doh, they've been massaged and they're ready to
Mm,
fit into different areas like Play-Doh that's been or dough that's been massaged. So and then kids who've been on the res and never left, and then you have to go into these spaces that are primarily non-native. And then of course, if everybody like breaks their neck and looks at you, that's pressure. You don't want to be perceived, maybe. So, like, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in creating a new pathway for themselves that didn't exist before? Because that's very
I,
what you were doing.
yeah, no, I really like that question. And for me, I think it was a sort of a situational, you're doing it for survival at this point and safety. Like there's a set of code of rules, you know, to make it home safe as a Black youth, right? And that's something that was a talk that was given to us at like second grade, right? Hands out of your pockets, putties down, receipt in your hand when you leave. Um, or my mom was just like, don't touch that hot breath whispering, don't do that, or remember, right?
Yes.
Um, but for me, moving around, you really had to adapt. And some people, it's like relocation. Sometimes you can flawlessly adapt into it, and sometimes you're so pulled, you're so far removed from your element that you just sort of crash, right? So for me, I look at it as I don't have space to crash in. There's not necessarily the longest tarmac for me to land in, but I'm gonna do it even if I bounce a couple of times, right?
Yes.
Uh, So it was being in those forced spaces that made me go, I know I've got an afro. I know I'm wearing dangly beaded earrings, but and my, painted nails, but that's not going to stop me from being here or, let's say being a part of, like a law firm, right? Or being a part of administration in higher ed. Just because you look a certain way, you come with, your own set of knowledge. I think that's the beautiful part. It's like trying to put a square peg through like a triangle, and
Uh-huh.
you don't fit on purpose, and you're not supposed to fit.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to learn that. They're like, Marika, my parents would be like, Marika, you're not white. You're not gonna look or dress or even, think the same things or the same thoughts they are. You are you. So go for it. And there is a lot of little taglines that my parents gave me. So I wanted to say this to you earlier because, again, like, let's say you come with your set of knowledge, you go through college. And I remember going like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. Like, I can't be like the director of XYZ. And my mom stopped me one day and she was just like, Marika, do you know that you know what you know as a Native and a Black woman? And you know what they know. So you know how to walk in the, dominant community, in addition to knowing your ceremonies, your traditions, and your communities. That is a superpower.
Yes.
So going into another world, knowing what you know and what they know is phenomenal. And I always take that with me. Like when I was working in higher education, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this one. And again, you know what they know and you know what you know.
Oh
So
my,
go and get it done.
so powerful right there. I hope all the little res kids, all the little native kids understand that they know who they are and they know how to operate in the American.
Exactly.
So powerful.
Yeah. And yeah, that's something I will always hold with me. And I love my mom for that. So now whenever I'm teaching, I'm just go, you know what, you guys know what you know, and you know what they know. So go again and get it done.
That's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
I love that because again, it's reaffirming like you are powerful.
Yeah.
You matter. What you bring to the table matters, you know? That's
Yeah.
so good. But
Yeah.
okay, so let me so in your consulting company, you'd go and do presentations and,
Yeah.
and like PowerPoints and doing all the homework behind it and getting everything ready. So, can you tell us like what are your tips and tricks and how do you approach going into these spaces?
So, I think we have a different outlook based off of who our audience is,
Okay.
because sometimes tribal governments will contract with us, and we'll start with a blessing, smudge, all that good stuff. But
Uh,
if we're, going to corporate to learn professional development on, who are your native staff, who do you serve, how do you know they're native, right? So
uh,
like me as an example, if I walk in, are you going to know that I'm a member of a federally recognized tribe, and how do you identify that, right?
yes.
So we go and do PDs based off of that, and it can be very academic-y,
Uh-huh.
And I'll bring you through the Marshall trilogy. I'll bring you through all the laws. I'll play Indian 101. I'll ask you what land you're on. And we'll go based off of then. But sometimes even the native group needs to know things like that, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of things I didn't know that I learned in school. So we'll go through that and we'll gauge the crowd too, right? So we'll say, do you know what land you are? Do you know how many state recognized tribes there are? Do you know how many federal there are? And so we'll sort of play around that way. And they're like, oh, okay, you guys are professionals. You know what you're doing. and
Oh,
and then we'll go from there. And so there's going to be some things you didn't know, some things you do know, and some things that you can recap and reflect on as well. But for our professional developments or our presentations out for the larger or community at large, it's usually from ground zero and going up. And we have this thing that we build into our presentations. I'm not kidding when I say Indian 101. So we'll tell
okay.
you, so we have how are you going to tell us about, health disparities and resources that I can access, right? So I'll do little case studies. I go, okay, I'm from, the Lumbee tribe. Actually, I think they just got federal recognition. A state recognized tribe. Can you take me to IHS to get my tooth out?
Um,
And they're like, well, what does that even mean? And I'm like, well, no, the answer is no. You
uh-huh.
need to be a federally recognized tribe, and those are these ones. And now you can take me to, Shiprock or whatever to get my tooth out, right?
Yes.
But if you're from a state recognized tribe, you have different accesses to different things. Sometimes they'll grant you, like, say, yes, we'll give you this. But you need to know those differences. And sometimes people don't know them, which is totally fine, which is why we're there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yes, we could go on from like health, arts, um, yeah, oh my gosh, there's just so many topics, but up approaching it, just like now, like we're talking to someone directly. In some presentations, you talk at people, and I don't really like that. I like to pick on people a little bit and say, all right, Bill, you're up. Um, and it gets the crowd going, or I'll go, okay, you guys right here, you all push together.
Yeah.
Now you're an allotment. And I'll go, okay, I've stripped you of your language. You're going to church and you're wearing Christian clothes.
Uh-huh.
But maybe I'll grant you citizenship if you can grow corn on this, very barren land. Maybe. We'll see. So it's very engaging, but I guess we do that to everyone, but we can tell if it needs to be more informative or if it's sort of like a did you know, sort of a recap thing.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I find that when I do presentations, I like to get the audience involved also.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, and depending on what the question that they ask, I always usually throw it back at them too. Like
Yes.
air quality, which ugh, I did not like it because again, decimal points and numbers, which was fine, but I just when you're looking at like 3,000 lines of data, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
No, and it's just like so then the question was like, oh, did you always see yourself working in air quality? And then I was like, okay, everybody in here, put up your hand if you were little and you wanted to be an air quality specialist.
Thank you.
It's like nobody. I was like, exactly, like you kind of just find your way into that niche.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's fun because then all of a sudden it like breaks down barriers and we're in this together. Now let's learn. So
Yeah.
I could see that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, in one of your presentations. That sounds fun.
Yeah, hopefully everyone has a good time. I know I do.
Well, that's the most important thing.
I'm like, oh my gosh, Marika, you were so ridiculous. You have come on.
That is so funny because me and my auntie group, we were talking about baddies. We're like, okay, no more people pleasing. We have to be baddies now. We have to bring
Facts.
knowledge. We have to be secure who we are.
Oh,
Like,
I love it.
yes, so funny. But that's exactly like you're secure in your knowledge. You know who you are. You walk in,
Yeah.
and if they're not receiving of it, that's on them, because they're not
Yeah.
taking what you're presenting. So,
Yeah. And sometimes it's been like that and you just keep going. Sometimes you have, hecklers like, oh, they get everything and casinos and you try to explain the backstory of that and you know that they already came in with a certain mindset and there's not necessarily you can do to change it, but don't let everybody else have a bad time because this guy's, sort of just throwing things out. So go, okay, so anyway, we keep going on with so the doctrine of discovery
yeah.
and you just keep going.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Somebody needs to do just like a film that shows the doctrine of discovery and then all the messed up policies and
Thank you. Yes.
the connection of like, this is why we are where we are today because of all of these policies.
Yes. So when I teach, I actually pull up the federal Indian policy timeline, which is I'm glad that you said that. That's how I have to teach. Now all my like seventh graders are like, oh well, during reallotment, I'm like, yes, queen, yes.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
but I laugh because they're like, Marika, the way you teach it is like drunk history. You're like, okay, the Pope over here did this, and then, just sort of nonchalant. But like, I feel like when I teach it that way, they retain it more. And I'm just like, good.
Can we get a deal where we just do drunk history?
Yes.
I would love that because
Ooh.
yes, because my thing that I learned in working in environmental when working with EPA was that like for the first 10 years it was like, well, I don't like that. And they'd be like, okay, thank you for your comment. And then it's like, oh wait, you can't build there because there's a village site. Okay, thank you for your
Mm,
and then all of a sudden I start digging in the CFRs, looking at the laws, and then I came to the table and I was like, according to the 1984 Indian policy, section 2, we are co-regulators. And then they're like, huh? Like,
yes.
okay, what do you want us to do? Then it's like,
Mm,
then you get the ball rolling to where you're like, oh, they're working with us. So we have to
yeah.
together, not thank you for because you're not saying like the magic words, which is law and policy.
Yes.
So, yes, it's a whole thing, but at the same time, it's a lot to learn all of that stuff.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
available. You have to dig through documents to be
You
like,
really do. You really do. But I love digging through documents.
oh, see, oh my gosh, I love that. My friend
Yeah.
said she wrote her thesis on the um her tribe's girl puberty ceremony. And
Yes.
so she had to dig through a lot. I was like, oh my gosh, you are just like a hunter.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I like that.
Okay, so we're gonna do three rapid fire uh questions. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, you sound like you have tons of quotes. So what is your top like quote, your go-to?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm gonna retweet what I already did.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna use you know what you know, and you know what they know.
Yes. So go forth you.
Exactly.
Okay. So what song do you have on repeat right now?
Oh my gosh. What is it? I almost got pulled over. TGIF by Glorilla.
Oh, I- oh
But
my
I was like,
gosh.
you can't because my car is registered and I'm insured.
Yes. I've had that happen where like they're like, okay, this car was reported stolen. Like, well, it wasn't this car.
No, I was like,
Know?
you guys want to pull me over so bad, but
Oh,
meh.
I know. Right? Right. Okay. And then last question is what app on your phone is your go-to?
Oh my gosh. I use something more than Instagram. Oh, that's so good. That's so probably it's probably Chrome because I'm Googling I am so intellectually curious
Uh-huh.
that I will explode if I do not have my questions answered. So if like I see a flag that I'm not aware of, I will have to Google all flags across the country. Or if they're like, yeah, goldenrod, or some plants conflict with this, and I'm like, well, why? So I'll have to Google it.
Oh my God, same. I love that because I think that enjoy life is you have to walk through being curious. Like,
Yes.
and like, what is this? What is that song? And I think that just brings more joy and entertainment to life.
Yeah, for no, definitely. I was had to play a YouTube video that I found really funny. And when you bring it up on the TV, it has all your search history.
Oh,
And my partner goes, did you ask if there were snails in Africa? I was like, yes. Yes, and the African smell, I might add. And then I'm just rattling off all these things. And I'm just like, well, now you know. And now I'm one Jeopardy question smarter. So,
yes, exactly. Oh my God, I hope you go on Jeopardy. With
oh,
that,
I love it.
that would be so cool where all of
Yeah.
you are on there. But okay, well, Marika, thank you for your time. This has been a pleasure. Like I said, I could just go on and on.
Yes.
Love your Cherry Creek
Well, thank you.
passion. And I can't wait to get a hold of your book. And I hope
Yes.
the first of a whole catalog series because
Aw.
that out in the world. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.